Afra, Economic and Business Advisors, Chloe Langlos, Carolyn Peterborough, and Nick Kinkle. My name's Austin Brown, and I am the Agriculture Economic Development Policy Analyst from the Ontario Federation of Agriculture. And I would like to just begin with our land acknowledgement. Oh, actually, you know what? We're going to do a little bit of an introduction first, and then we'll get to our land acknowledgement. My apologies. So, welcome to our Agriculture Economic Development and Planning Community of Practice. We have a couple more people who have come in since I gave the initial welcome. OFA and OMAFRA coordinate this together in an online network, and we do hope that it brings together professionals from the economic development and planning community together. We encourage you to sign up for the email list, to go back to past webinars that we have for access in our Google Drive, as well as virtual recordings that you'll find on the Drive and on OMAFRA and OFA's YouTube account. If you'd like access to that Google Drive, you can visit ofa.on.ca/community of practice, or just type into Google search bar Community of Practice OFA, and it should take you right to the page. And now for a territorial acknowledgement. We would like to begin by acknowledging the Indigenous peoples of all the lands that we are on today. While we are meeting on a virtual platform, I would like to take a moment to acknowledge the importance of the lands which we each call home. We do this to reaffirm our commitment and responsibility in improving our relationships between nations and to improving our own understanding of local Indigenous peoples and their cultures. From coast to coast to coast, we acknowledge the ancestral and unceded territory of all the Inuit, Métis, and First Nations people that call this land home. Please join us in a moment of reflection to acknowledge the harms and mistakes of the past and to consider how we are and can, in each of our own way, to try and move forward in a spirit of reconciliation and collaboration. Thank you.
Thanks, Austin. And I'll be going over some brief updates on programs and events that are coming up. And so first off, I would like to share with you the Dairy Processing Modernization Initiative. The purpose of this initiative is to provide cost share support to dairy processors for equipment upgrades that create or increase processing efficiencies and or improve food safety. So it's open from April 2nd to November 30th. And so it can be dairy processing, it could be cow, goat, sheep, water buffalo milk, and applicants can apply multiple times to this initiative. However, the maximum amount of cost share that they can access is $200,000 under this initiative. So if you have a dairy processor in your area of influence, it would be great to reach out to them and talk to them if they're aware of this program, and they most likely are, but there may be opportunity to assist them with their application, possibly with letters of support or data about your community, what kind of influence they have. The next program is the Agritech Innovation Initiative, uh, and it is to support growth and productivity through innovation, advanced manufacturing, improve food safety, and enhance cybersecurity, as well as energy efficiency within the agri-food sector. So projects will enhance and increase processing capacity in agri-food production and reduce greenhouse gas emissions in Ontario. And this initiative is open until March 28th. So it's something to consider right now. And again, it's an opportunity to reach out to those who you think might be eligible for this. Maybe they're looking to expand, or they have some projects that you're aware of that may fit this initiative. And so please reach out to them and see how you can assist. And again, the same for expanding markets in Ontario. There is the Grow Ontario Market Initiative, so it has been open and the monies were assigned, and now there is an additional $6 million for this initiative, and it is to grow the Ontario market, providing primary producers, food processors, and industry organizations with cost share funding to help them increase sales in domestic and foreign markets through market analysis and planning, new product development, and marketing. So a great one to promote in your regions that has had a lot of interest from our folks in this industry. Next is the Grow Ontario Accelerator Hub. And so this is to support innovative Ontario-based companies to advance more solutions and technologies to the market. This will be facilitated by providing mentoring and advisory services for agri-food business acceleration, growth planning, and investment readiness, as well as provide supports to businesses across the agri-food supply chain with respect to adoption of innovation. And this is being managed by BioEnterprise. And so it's a great opportunity to refer your clients who are in this space to this service that's available to them. Another one, you've heard of this if you've attended our sessions before. So just again, to remind you that the Promoting Agriculture and Food Careers Initiative continues, and this may be an opportunity for your organization to partner with your ag society to enhance the promotion of agriculture and food careers in your region. So if this is a priority, one of your priorities, it may be that opportunity to enhance what the Agricultural Society is doing in your community by partnering with them. And again, a reminder about the Farmer Wellness Initiative, the Guardian Network, and In the Know, which is the training program. So if you're interested in this, feel free to scan the QR code. So that is a live QR code there that you can get more information about this program, and please do promote it in your regions. So we do have agriculture economic development training coming up. So we tend to offer this every other year. And so it's a free 2-part online training that is scheduled for April 16 and 23rd. And where it really is for those people who are new to agriculture economic development, and it's a refresher for those who may not have or who have taken this maybe a while ago. But we're looking at what that sector-specific development in focused on agriculture, and so how economic development applies to that sector, and also will share a number of opportunities that exist in this sector as by means of economic development. The QR code is live there, and I see Carolyn has also shared the registration link. Thank you. Just a few more things to make you aware of. There are some workshops, online workshops that are available that seemed of interest to this group. So there's a couple there by Foodpreneur Advantage regarding labeling and packaging of food products, marketing and branding your foods. So that may be something within your region. There may be folks in that space that may benefit from that. They also have a number of other workshops coming up. So I just highlighted a couple of them there. And the Canadian Agricultural Human Resources Council also has a number of workshops. The links there will take you to the registration. And then I would suggest that if you're interested in what they're doing, that as far as human resources go in the ag sector, to sign up for their newsletter, and that's where you'll get aware, well, you get notice of their webinars. And just the My Main Street, if you're not already aware, the Community Activator Stream and Business Sustainability Stream are open for applications and may be of interest as well for your community. All right, with that, I will turn it over to Carolyn to introduce our speakers.
Thank you very much, Nick, and good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Community of Practice. We've got some wonderful speakers ahead of us and a great opportunity to learn about some data tools and how you can grow the regional ag and food economy. So first, I would like to introduce Ahmad Bial. He is a master's in plant genetics with a focus on sustainable agriculture and is working as a project manager for Connect On since 2022. And he's overseen the development of the public-facing dashboard, which is now being offered by Connect On, and is interested in storytelling through data analytics. And you'll learn a lot more about what Connect On is as we go through this session. I also am pleased to introduce Nicole Winter. Nicole has worked with the Golden Horseshoe Food and Farming Alliance on the Connect On project since 2020 in various roles. Previously, Nicole worked for a market research firm where she was a research analyst and managed customer satisfaction projects. Bringing her data and project management skills to the Connect On team, Nicole has led 2 Connect On projects mapping Northern and Western Ontario and has led to several data refreshes, including OMAFRA's farm business registration data. Nicole has a love for data and a passion for using data to tell a story, and she loves sharing the uses of Connect On, and she's really excited to share today. So we're so pleased to have our 2 speakers, and I'm looking forward to more people learning about the Connect On tool and understanding how they can use data to support the agri-food sector. So I will now turn it over to our speakers.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Carolyn and Nick. We'll just get our PowerPoint here queued up. Alrighty. I can see that. I hope everyone else can.
Looks great.
Perfect. Okay. So good morning, everyone. On behalf of the Connect On team, we really wanted to thank you for your time today. And of course, thank OMAFRA and the Ontario Federation of Agriculture for providing us this opportunity to speak about Connect On. So today we will be providing an overview of Connect On, we'll be speaking to the tool as well as the dashboard, our newest feature to Connect On. We'll provide a demonstration of both the tool and the dashboard, and we'll also hear from 2 of our users who have used Connect On in their work. And we'll finish up the presentation by just speaking to the subscription model, and our presentation will be about half an hour in length. And then there'll be a question period later on in our session today. All righty, let's get started. You can go ahead to the next slide there, Ahmed. Excellent. Alrighty, so Connect On at a glance. So Connect On is a project led by the Golden Horseshoe Food and Farming Alliance. In one sentence, Connect On is an economic development resource that supports investment, business retention, and growth across Ontario. And Connect On has two really main components. One is the asset mapping tool, and one is our public-facing dashboard. So we'll go to we've had a few poll questions peppered throughout the presentation. So we'll go to our first poll question, which is, have you used Connect On before? So it's a yes or a no question there. And I think the poll should be activating.
Sorry, Nick, the poll, could you just run the poll? There we go.
Here we go. Perfect. Alrighty, so you'll see the other poll questions there, which you could answer now if you want, but there'll be opportunities to answer them elsewhere in the presentation. Alrighty, so we'll go to our next slide. So what is the Connect On tool specifically? So the Connect On tool is an economic development tool that provides geomapped and NAICS coded data. It's an Ontario database that has been developed and guided by municipal staff for their use. Users have the ability to upload, update, select, sort, and map their own data, as well as view data from neighboring municipalities as well. Users can also add infrastructure overlays onto the map to provide a more complete picture of the municipal businesses with the infrastructure that's there in place to support them. The sectors involved are agri-food and manufacturing, and we also have tourism mapped, but that's for Northern Ontario users only at the moment. So we'll take a look at a quick snapshot of the map. So that's a map of Ontario with all the assets that we currently have in the database. We have over 70 areas mapped with over 390 users, and we have over 120,000 assets mapped in the tool. Okay, time for a second poll question. Do you see value in data-driven economic development and planning? And that's a yes or no question. Just give everyone a couple moments to complete the poll. Did it come up again? Is it the window just staying up for everyone?
Yeah, I've just left it open, Nicole, and
perfect.
people are kind of voting away at it.
Okay, thank you so much. I closed it on my end. Maybe I shouldn't have done that, but I'm glad to hear it. Glad to hear it's available and up. Okay, now we are going to hear from one of our users. So Connect On really has been used in a variety of ways to help support economic development, planning, strategy development, research, policy, emergency preparedness, and response. And so today we will hear from Christina Mann from Wellington County, sharing how they have used Connect On. Christina, I'll send it over to you.
Thank you, Nicole. I appreciate the opportunity to share how we work together. And so again, my name is Christina Mann. I'm with Economic Development Division at the County of Wellington. And this past year, we had the pleasure to work with Marilyn, Ahmed, and Nicole and the team at Connect On to utilize the Connect On platform and support a local project. It was a really good experience for us, and we were thrilled to be able to contribute the key agricultural data to an important project for Wellington County. Thank you for switching the slide for me. So in 2023, last year, we had the Wellington Federation of Agriculture approach us for support as they had hired a local consulting company, and that's Fulton Consulting out of Fergus, to undertake an agri-food systems study. And this study really aimed to show the economic impact the agricultural sector has in Wellington County. It assessed the challenges and the opportunities for protecting and growing the agri-food system locally, and it assessed some of the unique solutions from other Canadian municipalities to support the development and growth of the agri-food system. Thank you. So the Wellington Federation of Agriculture was looking for additional sources of data and information to inform their study. And they were well aware of the Connect On platform, which was a real bonus. So since the county was an agreement holder and a partner of Connect On, the project teams contacted us with a request for mapping data. And we were, of course, happy to help. Now, while myself and my colleague Heather Vasey both had received some training on utilizing the Connect On platform, it's not something we do every day. And we quickly realized that we needed some additional help. So we contacted Marilyn and her team, and they really patiently took us through the process to ensure that we were following the right steps. So that was really helpful to us, that they didn't do all the work for us, but they took us through the process and helped us along the way if we got stuck. And on the slide, you can see some of the data the WFA were looking for. And that was anything from food processing, primary production, distribution, and sector-specific information. And if I could ask you to move forward to the next slide, please. So we ended up pulling 23 maps that were based on specific NAICS codes and groupings. And the maps proved to be a very useful data source to inform the study and support analysis of the local agri-food system. So if anyone is interested in learning more about the project itself, it's a fantastic report they created. I'd be happy to share the link to the document in a chat. And again, from our side, we really appreciate that we could provide this information. It was a very important project for our county, and we truly appreciated the prompt support that we received from the Connect On team. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Christina, for sharing. It's always a pleasure to hear, how people are using Connect On. So thank you very much. Alrighty, so we'll move right along. So just spend a couple of minutes chatting about sort of what the dashboard is. So we recently partnered with Toronto Global and added a new feature, which was the dashboard. So the dashboard is public facing and includes data visuals for the agri-food and manufacturing sectors. And with the dashboard, you're able to essentially visualize data locally, regionally, and provincially, such as the number of businesses by sector, employment data, trends in farming, and much more. You can view data from over 60 census areas. It is important to note that the areas that we have listed are at the census level. So this refers to a lot of the upper tier separated city and district level areas. The list is very comprehensive, but we're certainly still working to have, all the areas included once the data is available for those areas. And lastly, you are able to download the data visuals that you'll see in the dashboard. Alrighty, we can go to the next slide. Okay, so I just thought we would spend a couple minutes just on this overview slide because I find it very helpful when you're learning, the differences between the tool and the dashboard. So here's just sort of a top line summary of the differences between the two. So the tool, it's an asset mapping platform with geomapped and NAICS coded data. And that's data across 3 sectors across the entire province. Whereas the dashboard, it's data-driven visuals of aggregated data, and that's for just 2 sectors at the moment, and that's for census level areas. The WHO piece is also a bit different. So for the tool, this is municipal and economic development staff and organizations that have access to the tool through a signed data sharing agreement and then are provided login credentials to access the tool. Whereas the dashboard, it's public facing, so anyone is welcome to use it. In terms of the data again is a little bit different. So for the tool, there's 5 main data sources that we pull from. They're listed there. And then we also have 5 data sources from for the dashboard as well. So things like the aggregated Connect On data, workforce planning data, census data, and that as well. In terms of the use, they kind of work together. We'll see that in the demonstration as well. So for the tool, the use is more detailed business information to really support project work and initiatives, where the dashboard is very high level metrics and sort of like at a glance, ready to use and interpret data. And then the where, they're both accessed on the Connect On website. Except again, for the tool, it's through login credentials. Okay, that brings us to our third poll question. So what tools do you use for planning and development? So you can select all that apply there. And I don't know if do we have an open end as well at the end of the poll? No, just those selections. So go ahead and select an answer there.
And I think if you click your polls, Nicole, you might be able to see it again if you click the poll
Oh,
option.
wonderful.
And then you can
Yes,
see
I
what the
can.
results are as it's going. Yeah.
Oh, thank
Or,
you.
or maybe you can. At least I can. I'm not sure.
I can't see the results, no. But I can see, I didn't realize I could bring it up again. Thank you so much.
Okay, yeah.
That's excellent. All righty, so now I'm going to spend about the next 10 minutes or so demonstrating the tool. So you can go ahead and go to the next slide for us. Okay, so to demonstrate the features and the functionality of both the dashboard and the tool, we thought we would do this by working through a user scenario briefly. So this example is hypothetical. We've made this example just to note. So the province of Ontario and the Ontario Federation of Agriculture have heard concerns over abattoirs and meat processing capacity in the province. Municipalities are assessing meat processing capacity and whether building a new abattoir would be a good opportunity for business expansion. So let's look at this scenario. We're going to focus on Grey County. All right, so just give us a moment here. I'm just going to start sharing my screen. All righty, so everyone can see my screen okay?
Yep.
Okay, perfect, thank you. Sorry, I'm just trying to get all the windows of us not on that screen. Okay. Alrighty, so here is the Connect On web page. Here again is where you would access both the tool and the dashboard. To access the dashboard, we'll open up this drop-down menu. Here it has the 60 areas listed. We're going to go ahead and select Grey County and hit go. So here is the dashboard. This is the landing page that you're welcomed by. We have 3 sections on the dashboard. We have the at a glance page, the agriculture section, and the manufacturing section. So this landing page is the at a glance page, which really just gives you a high level summary of the agriculture and manufacturing sectors. A couple other noteworthy things is we have a drop-down menu here of that same drop-down menu that we saw on the homepage of the Connect On website. And at any point, if you want to look at a different area, you can click another area and the data will repopulate for all the dashboard pages. We also have a print function here. So this takes a screen capture of whatever page you're on in the dashboard, and it downloads into a PDF format. Alrighty, so this is the agriculture landing page. We have things like sources, additional links, also the NAICS code that the dashboard focuses on. And then we have 5 pages that are within this section. So the first page we have is a glossary. So really important to, when you're interpreting the data in the dashboard, to take a look at the glossary as it relates to all the terms that you'll see. We have a farming map. We have a farm employment map, which we'll just pause here and take a look, thinking about that question, that scenario. So first, what jumps out to me here is we're looking at the farm employment and the people that are employed by farm operators. So in gray, we can see that majority of the workers here are seasonal. So perhaps opening an abattoir or additional meat processing facilities would increase the number of permanent positions in the area. Another thing that jumps out to me here to help us answer our question is the top 10 employers by farm type. And we can see that cattle ranching and farming is among one of the top employers in Grey County in agriculture. We can also see down the line here is hog and pig farming. There is also a farm by industry page. Again, for our question, what jumps out to me is the cattle ranching and farming. So that's among one of the 37% out of the farms in gray. And there's also, we have some sheep and goat farming and hog and pig farming here as well. So just thinking of all the types of farming that would be impacted if meat processing facilities were added to gray. This is the manufacturing section. It's very similar to the agriculture section. So the landing page is very similar, but it has the manufacturing NAICS codes. We also have the glossary, but these are for the manufacturing terms as well. We also have a manufacturing map. We have an employment page as well. Similarly, I'm looking at the employment, so majority is advanced manufacturing, so perhaps there's a potential to expand in food and beverage manufacturing here. We also have an agri-food page. We can see that meat product manufacturing, it's in the top 10, but certainly not a lot of operations. So perhaps there's some opportunity for expansion there as well. And then lastly, we have an advanced manufacturing page. Okay, so that's sort of given us sort of this general, very general sort of high level understanding of things like farm employment, manufacturing employment, some livestock farming, and as well as meat product manufacturing. But to answer our question more accurately, we want more detailed information. So this is where we'll turn to Connect On to take a look at that data. So really key takeaway, farming is definitely a primary economic driver in Grey County, and there's definitely a potential to increase, meat product manufacturing in the county. Alrighty, so I'm going to go ahead and log into Connect On. Okay, so this is the Connect On tool. Connect On tool again has sort of 3 main sections. So we have the map, of course, we have the toolbar here at the top, and then we have this side menu here with 4 tabs. So we'll start in the toolbar here. And so here is where you're able to select a sector. So as I mentioned, there's 3 sectors available. For our demonstration today, I'm just going to focus on agri-food and manufacturing. And then we'll go ahead and select an area. The first section here in the area drop-down menu are all the regional views. And so all users have access to these regional views and can view the data. Important to note that for the regional views, the data can't be downloaded, however, it can be viewed. Then we also have the municipal areas. So your area, mine looks a bit different because I have access to all of them, but your area would be listed here, or perhaps your areas if you have access to more than one. So I'm going to go ahead and we're going to just, again, sort of having that sort of general and kind of zooming into our question. I'm going to select for county, which includes Bruce, Grey, Perth, and Huron. And then we can see that the data is populating on the map here. So important to note that you have to have at least one sector and you have to have an area selected in these drop-down menus for the data to populate. So we can see that there's a bunch of assets that have been populated on the map here. To understand what all of these colors mean, we could open up our legend tab here, and this shows all the colors to the 3-digit NAICS code. So the colors that you see coincide with the NAICS code that these businesses have up to the 3-digit level. Okay, so back to our question. So let's take a look at how many abattoirs are sort of in the regional area that graze in. So if you don't know a NAICS code, you can go to our help tab here, open up the NAICS code list, and it has all the codes across the 3 sectors that are included in Connect On, all the way from the 2 to the 6-digit level. And so then we have found our code here. That's the code for abattoirs. So I'm just going to go ahead, copy that over, and I'm going to go back to our tool tab. Our tool tab is where you can query the data. So you can do that by filtering by NAICS code, by geometry, and asset name. So I'm going to go ahead and add that code. And so I can hit run, and then it will show me only the businesses with this code in the 4 areas. You'll notice the asset count changed as well here. So for me on my end, I'm having a hard time seeing where those assets are. So sometimes what I like to do is I like to go to the layers map, and I like to change my map to get a better view of the assets. So I typically have been using the Bing Map Canvas Dark because it really contrasts against the assets nicely. So there we can see they're sort of peppered all throughout the county, the 4 counties there. If we wanted to add another code, so I'm going to go ahead and add the code for meat production, or sorry, meat processing. That's the rendering and meat processing from Carcass's code. So not only can I filter by a 6-digit NAICS code, I can filter by multiple NAICS codes, and they can range from 2 to 6 digits. So I'm going to go ahead and click run, and that adds those additional businesses to the map. So I'm going to go and reset the map, and let's zoom in to look at Grey County. Alrighty, so that's showing all the businesses for Grey County. You'll see the asset count has changed. And so let's say we wanted to look at not only the abattoirs and the meat processing in Grey. So we'll add those codes there. And we can see that there's 12. And maybe we want to identify particularly, one of these assets, and we can do that by clicking the asset identifier and clicking a point on the map. And it provides things like the name, the address, the NAICS code or codes, and also the data source category as well. And we could add more NAICS codes if we want. So for example, maybe I wanted to add, the farms that these businesses would be servicing. So I'm going to go ahead and add the codes for things like beef, cattle, ranching, and farming, hog, pig, sheep, and goat farming. So I'm going to go ahead and click run. And then there I can see that those assets have populated Again, we can go to the legend. We can see that those are part of animal production and aquaculture. And so you could keep, adding more codes to really understand what the supply chain is. So you could take this all the way to retail if you would like to as well. And so really demonstrating the entire supply chain. There's a few things that I just wanted to point out before we move on. We have the download button, which allows you to download the data that you have filtered on the map. So whatever you have filtered by NAICS or whether it's geometry, that's what will be downloaded. We also have a print function, which again will take a screen capture of the page of whatever you have filtered. And then lastly, I just wanted to point out that we have infrastructure layers here as well. We don't have a land use layer, so it would have to be Connect-On would have to be used in tandem with a map that would show land use, but we do have a lot of really great layers that you can add, and including things like single tier boundaries as well. Alrighty, so sort of to swing back to our original question, really it looks like, again, farming is a primary driver in this area. There's lots of farms that are being serviced by very few abattoirs in the area. So it looks like it's a very good opportunity since there's about 1,400 farms being serviced by 6 abattoirs and 6 meat processing facilities. And a really great follow-up question would be, where would you put this facility? Because the current facilities are sort of peppered not only throughout the county, but sort of in the regional areas around Gray as well. Alrighty, so we will I'll stop sharing my screen. That's the end of the demonstration. As Christina mentioned, there's so many features and functionality in there, so it is really a versatile tool. We're always happy to help with any questions that our users or you might have. We'll just go back to our PowerPoint, and now we are going to hear from another Connect-On user who is Ben Roberts from the town of Caledon. I will turn it over to you, Ben.
Thanks, Nicole, and good morning, everyone. And thanks to the organizers for this opportunity to learn and share. As noted by Nicole, my name is Ben Roberts. I'm a Senior Economic Development Officer with the town of Caledon. 2 projects that we partnered with Connect-On are the town of Caledon's Agricultural Trend Study and the Agricultural Bee R&D exercise. Starting with the Agricultural Trend Study, as part of the official plan review process, town of Caledon was extremely interested in updating its rural and agricultural land use policies to not only protect the land and resources, but the farmer. As part of the consultation process and to understand the agricultural industry within Caledon, Connect-On was contacted to provide the mapping to identify the density of farming activity. The mapping enabled the consultant and town planners to understand not only where farm businesses were most active, but also having the ability to use the NAICS codes to further drill down and focus on the specific farm activity, including the location of livestock operations, much like Nicole demonstrated in the earlier part of this presentation. The mapping provided by Connect-On was also helpful in the presentation, discussion, and understanding of what an agricultural system is within the context of Caledon. The Connect-On mapping provided the additional tool to assist in the ongoing work to understand and form the official plan policies to protect and enable the farm system. The other project that we've completed was the Agricultural Bee R&D study. And one of the actions of the town of Caledon's economic development strategy directed economic development staff to conduct targeted annual BR&D programming to complement regular business outreach. And one of the sectors we decided to focus on was agriculture and food. As part of that process to develop our action plan, we reached out to Connect-On to discuss the difficulties we were having in Caledon in connecting with the food and agricultural businesses within our rural areas. The purpose of this project was to collect data to assist in developing actions and programs to support the farming community Because of the overall benefit to the food and agricultural sector, Connect On was able to support us in providing the data to contact the agricultural businesses in our rural areas that we were otherwise unable to reach. With the support of the information and services of Connect On, Town of Caledon Economic Development was able to complete the food and agricultural bee R&D study. And those are just two of the experiences I've had working with Connect On, and appreciate the assistance and knowledge that they had given me and the town of Caledon. And thank you for your attention, and I'll hand it back over to Ahmed.
Thank you so much, Ben. So in the interest of time, I feel, Carolyn, we have another 3 minutes. I'm just going to make it short and quick. Thank you so much, everyone, for taking time out and for letting us present the Connect On tool. We feel, obviously, we're vested in it, so we feel that it's a very exciting tool, and there are endless possibilities through which the Connect On tool can be used. You'll probably be seeing the results for the poll on the screen right now. And I am very happy to note that 100% of the people who have responded see value in data-driven economic development and planning, and that's great. I think that's why we're all here. In order to facilitate this process, what we are now looking at Connect On is a subscription model to facilitate more users having access to the data that is provided within Connect On, keeping in mind our data sharing agreements that we have with OMAFRA and our other municipal partners. So we realize that lower tiers end up needing more or want to have more access to data, and this is the step in that direction. We've set up different tier levels, so lower tier municipalities, separated cities, county level, institutional research memberships, regional municipalities, and not-for-profit organizations. They can now have access to the data that is available within Connect On. Through the subscription model, we will facilitate users to set up their own accounts within Connect On, do a data refresh with them, and work towards an annual data refresh for their municipality. And also has the ability to set up shape files where required. This, along with the public-facing dashboard that has been added now to the Connect On website, and I can see that a few people are visiting it, and the dashboard is not an exhaustive resource at this point in time. It is still being added on, and the more use cases that come up, we actually encourage users to reach out to us and tell us what their experience is like, so that we can improve on the dashboard itself and improve the experience that comes around with it. I'm going to end our presentation. I don't want to take any more time, but along with access to Connect On, you have a ton of resources that are available. There's Ready Sport available. All like Christina Mann mentioned, we appreciate users reaching out to us, and we actually want to work and, as we say, use the tool, experiment with it, play with it. You will not break it, but we hope that some collaboration and exchange of ideas can come out in which we can facilitate whatever the economic development needs are for our users. And with that, thank you so much. If you have any questions, could you please add them to the chats, and I will be very happy to address them. After that, I would not want to take any more time. Carolyn, I'll hand it over to you.
Okay, well, thank
Nick,
you.
sorry.
Thank you so much for Nicole and Ahmed and Christina and Ben for sharing what the tools are, the new aspect with the dashboard to add on to the Connect On database, as well as some user case. That was wonderful. We really appreciate you taking the time to do that, and thank you for the offer to answer questions in the chat. So I will pass it over to Chloe, my colleague, and she will introduce our next group of speakers.
Thank you so much, Carolyn. Good afternoon, everyone. I think, as Austin mentioned at the beginning, my name is Chloe, and I'm new to the Economic Development Community of Practice team. I am located in Northern Ontario, and have been with OMAFRA for about 12 years, and in the Economic and Business Advisory role for about 3 now out of Thunder Bay. I do have the pleasure now to introduce our next speaker, who's Stephen Duff, Chief Economist, coming from the dairy and beef background in Northumberland County. Steve completed a master's in ag economics from the University of Guelph back in '96, and he joined OMAFRA in late '97. And for close to almost 15 years, he was our lead business risk management programs, and he led agri-stability as well as crop insurance. In 2016, Steve was the recipient of the FAIR Distinguished Alumni Award and is currently OMAFRA's chief economist. He's an adjunct professor at the University of Guelph, a farmer vice chair of Farm Management Canada, and him and his wife, Robin, also operate a beef and cash crop operation near Colborne, Ontario. So with that, I'd like to take it away. Steve, if you're ready to present.
Sure. Thanks, Chloe. Nick, can you just pass over ability to share screen, please? Or actually, I think, Chloe, you have to take yours down. There you go.
Oh, yeah. Did you want me to, or are you doing?
Sorry, if you want to introduce Jen now, that's great too. Go ahead.
Okay. I'll also let you know, joining Stephen will be our next presenter as well, a dedicated statistician with specialized focus on rural Ontario. Jennifer has completed a degree at the University of Guelph with a graduate program from Fanshawe and later joining OMAFRA just this past summer. She's currently engaged in various projects aimed at supporting rural economic strategies, including summarizing the wealth of agri-food data at OMAFRA, and it offers better use to among stakeholders and the public. So I'd like to welcome, both Stephen and Jennifer to speak now. Thanks for that.
Great. Thanks, Chloe. So thanks everyone for giving us an opportunity to present today. There is a lot to go through, so I'm going to try to go through this fairly quickly. Just want to make sure I get the right screen. So what I want to start off briefly with is our ministry landing page, which is the hub of statistics, analysis, economic information for our ministry. Our unit, the economic analysis unit that Jen and I operate in, is responsible for this. The website has a long history going back to 1996. And for those that have like some history, we have a data book for the province, which has a lot of regional information in it, all the way back into the 1860s. Even prior to that, most regions in Ontario maintain a business registry. So for example, if you're doing genealogy research, you can go back and look at that, and that included agriculture, etc. So we have a long history of that kind of data provision in Ontario. We've tried to continue that tradition. And I'll point out that a lot of the information that we provide on our ministry statistics site, particularly when you get to a county or to a municipal level, is we're the only province in Canada that does that. You go into field crops, for example, you can get into information on county level yields and production. We're the only jurisdiction in Canada that produces that kind of information. Same with livestock, and the same with the horticultural crops. We've been doing that for a long time. Relationship with Stats Canada, etc., has facilitated that. In addition, we're the only jurisdiction in Canada that produces what I'm going to take you through now, and Jen's going to complement that with some overview of one of the new infographics that we've got, the county profiles, which many of you have probably seen, etc., before, and they're a valuable tool for us to basically share information. So this is the county profile page, and it has a lot of different things. It's evolved a little bit with the transition to Ontario.ca, which hasn't been maybe quite as clean for a lot of the data as we would have liked, but it's kind of the reality face right now. And there's a number of things I'll just quickly point out. We've had it presented to this group previously, but I just wanted to make sure that we had an opportunity here for everybody to see some of these things. So as I mentioned, one of the things that we've tried to do is provide as much detail as we can on the agri-food system, all the way from the provincial level right down to the municipal level. So that would be in terms of the province, the region, the county or district if you're talking Northern Ontario, and then the municipality. And so One of the things that often gets asked in that context is basically how certain communities fall within certain areas. So if you click on this link, standard geographical classification, it will take you into how different municipalities fit into different things. And so one of the key things there is that we're trying to provide information on the entire ag-food system, right, from farm to fork. The Census of Agriculture has a little bit of a unique classification in terms of its census ag regions. And so it will oftentimes combine areas that might be separated out from a population or a business perspective. And I'll go through an example in Northumberland County where I grew up and where I farm now, to give you some context. We also have another excuse me, set of information on calculations of farmland rentals, net operating costs, and available farmland that complements the information at a local level. And all of this information goes down to the county, or in some cases down to the township and municipal level. Pardon me. And so we also have a tool here, if you click on this, which provides an economic impact summary. And so, you know, the work that Connect Ontario does is excellent, provides a valuable resource across the province. What we're trying to do with our information is provide a consistent, repeatable, updatable set of raw information, which is the source for all things agri-food in the province, both for the ministry, for industry, for other parts of government, for the public, or for organizations like Connect Ontario, relying on, again, Stats Canada and other sources where we have available, and providing it in a format that can be updated regularly. And the economic impact calculations within this, I'm not going to go into this today. Jen will cover off some of those pieces in the infographic, are really important and have been a big part of what we're providing. You can see here, basically, as an example, with Central Ontario, you know, you can go into this, and this gives a profile for Central Ontario specifically, and then the data for each of the counties that make up that region. If you go a little bit lower than that, then you're into the various counties within that region. So Hastings, Prince Edward, Northumberland, etc. And if you click into the file, I'm going to go to Northumberland here in just a second. That will then take you into the local information. And so if I were to click on this, that will take me to another screen here, which has all of this information. And actually, I'm just going to go back one slide or one screen just really quickly. And I apologize, I'm going to scroll to the bottom. But one of the things we've done a lot of, and Jen's contributed a lot to this in the last year or so, is we've tried to create a number of breakdowns in the province for special regions. And you can call them, depending on what you want to call them, but you know, things that are distinct, and trying to combine information. So we've got the Golden Horseshoe, we've got the Greater Toronto Area, we've got the Greater Golden Horseshoe, and we have the Greenbelt. So when I'm going to go through Northumberland, this mirror of information for these jurisdictions is all within that. In addition, and this is a relatively new thing as of late, is we have taken the agricultural census data, which I'll briefly go through, and we've broken it out into conservation authorities, so that because this used to be a fairly common thing we'd get. I would do work with Bay of Quinte, for example, where they want to look at how farmland has changed, etc., within their conservation authority. Now we have that data for every conservation authority in Ontario. And again, over time. So there's significant information, and we'll be updating that with the next census. So this is that next screen. And again, it's not as pretty as it could be in terms of how it's laid out. That's kind of the nature of this particular website we're dealing with, but you have the conservation authorities, you know, Grand River, Ganaraska, so on, Kawartha, scrolling down, and then you get into the Central Ontario's, etc. Then you get into Central region, etc. And now I'm going to take a look at Northumberland. So I'm just going to stop sharing my screen quickly. Share spreadsheet. So again, one of the things that our objective is to provide as much information as possible to the public, to be able to be a publicly available source for the ministry, for our staff, again, for the municipalities at varying levels of government, or for individual groups, farm groups, OFA, or just individuals. So the idea being that we're all operating from the same set of information. information. And so, just gonna here. Sorry, my apologies. I'm having trouble with my tabs. So the spreadsheet for every single region, every single county, special region, they're all a mirror image of each other. All the data in terms of rows and information are all in the same place. So if you're plugging and playing information, etc., they can be done in a consistent manner. All of the information is updated in sort of consistent sequences. So you'll see here, for example, we have the age of province, you have the county, Northumberland, and you've got the various townships, municipalities that operate within it. And I'll come back to that a little bit, the CSDs. So you have Alderville First Nation, and this is one of the examples where things are a little bit unique when you get to the agricultural census, Trent Hills, and so on. You've got information on the population for the last couple census periods, so you have an opportunity to see how the age is changing in that community. You've got incomes, the number of people in a household, which is the central feature in terms of analysis. Then you've got the labor force in terms of employment, etc. So all of these things are commonly referred to, and they're provided in a way so you can compare, see how they change over time, etc. And so we'll be continuing to add to this information as a subsequent census comes through in this context, and it'll be updated at that point. The second set of information that comes through in terms of the county, in terms of the community profile, is employment data. And so this is employment, again, coming from the census, and it's based on how people indicate within the census their employment is structured. And it's based on a concept of daytime and nighttime, which some of you may have heard of. Daytime basically means that I am working in a particular field in a community. It doesn't mean I live in that community. It means I work in that field in that community. So if you were going to talk about Northumberland County and talking about agroforestry, fishing and hunting, what that would say is that in the county of Northumberland, there is 1,125 people in that county employed in agriculture, forestry, fishing, and hunting. It doesn't mean that those people live in that community. That's the nighttime number. And I'll just quickly scroll down here. I'll come back to this section. And so there's 1,235 people in Northumberland County that live in Northumberland but work in agriculture, forestry, fishing, and hunting. That means roughly 100 are leaving Northumberland County every day to work and go somewhere else. And that could be an adjoining community, etc. Peterborough, Hastings, Prince Edward County, Durham, more likely. The other thing we provide, again, is a summary for the agri-food sector, and this is embedded in that economic impact data. So when we talk about the sector, we would say that in Northumberland County, 4,490 people are employed in Northumberland County in the agri-food sector. You know, roughly 1,100 in crop production, and so on and so forth. And again, this information is provided across here for each of the municipalities. One of the unique things that you have in certain circumstances when it comes to First Nations communities, sometimes there isn't information provided, and that's why you'll see zeros. In other cases, there will be some information, and that's why you can see some other information in this example for Alderville First Nation. This information will be updated with the next census. And then again, we've got the census of the population for 2016. So we're keeping historical information here. So again, there's a lot of information here. We understand that it's done for a reason. The secondary set in terms of the community profile, and there's a lot of data here as well, is business locations. And so this is done annually. So Jen will be updating this for December 2023 here fairly shortly. That information comes out next week or so, and then we'll be updating that. And so basically moving what you're looking at here down in the spreadsheet. But this gives you a flavor for the employment in the area, the number of businesses, those with employees and without, as well as the employment ranges for those businesses. So it gives you, again, a flavor for that. And again, in a very detailed makes way. And again, there's a significant amount of detail here because again, we found over time that municipalities, groups, etc., would be asking for this information in a way that it made sense for us to offer that. The next tab is agri-food business counts. This again is just an extraction from the first file, but more concentrated on the agri-food system, the agri-food definition that we typically operate with. We've always got the province, then the county, and then in this case the municipality. You've got your total agri-food, etc. So again, it's designed to be a resource given that we're focusing on agri-food. The next tab is basically a profile. This basically goes back to the paper data books that the ministry had, again, which ended in 1996. In the back of those data books, there was this singular page, if you're looking at here, right here that I'm highlighting, for Northumberland County in the back of that book, and would be there for 5 years until our next agriculture census came out. So we've been continuing to offer that. It's not something that people are using, I don't think, as much as they once did, but it has a bit of a history to it. So we've continued to offer that. And so again, we've got 16 here, 21, and we'll be layering that in with 2026 at a point. Another set of information that we produce out of the county profiles is food expenditure. This comes from a custom survey that we do with Statistics Canada that looks at food expenditure, household expenditures in rural communities. So not specific to Northumberland, for example, but specific to rural communities overall. And that is outlined by this set of information here under column B. And it's basically, that's the amount of household expenditure per person in the household in rural Ontario. And then what we've basically done is we've estimated that out based on the number of people per household in these various communities. And then we've compared that to the disposable income per household that was reported in that earlier slide. So again, it gives a flavor for that kind of calculation and information. And again, one of the good things is for most First Nations communities, Alderville is the example here, there's pretty good data as well to be able to do that. So it combines a bunch of aspects around the physicality of the community, how many people there are, the income situation, that kind of thing. So it's quite valuable and it's been pretty well used. Again, we've got 2 years here, 16, 21, and we'll be updating that again with the next census. The next two are pretty data hungry. This is basically a calculation on trying to understand how much food is consumed in the local community, food that could be produced in the community. So we're not going to talk about apples we're not going to talk about bananas or oranges here. We're talking about major fruits, vegetables that could be produced in Ontario, and understanding basically based on Statistics Canada per capita consumption data, what would we expect the community to consume? And then looking at, based on the Census of Agriculture, how much of that production is produced in that community and giving some idea of concept. So if you look at apples as an example, parts of Northumberland County have had significant apple orchards. The second largest apple orchard in Canada is located in Northumberland County. I farm right next to them. We are able to produce about 610% of what we need in terms of apples in the county. In other words, we're producing excess, and that, you'll see those apples in Sobeys, grocery stores all across Ontario and exported, etc. On the peach side of things, to give a secondary example, we're only producing about 2%. Now, again, not every community can produce some of these things, peaches, pears as an example, as well as others, but it gives a flavor for understanding food self-sufficiency. And again, you can kind of go down the list. We've used this tool with a variety of communities over the years to try to help understand what might be opportunities for local production. We've even extended this set of calculations for areas. We did some stuff for Prince Edward County once, or Rideau Lakes a couple times, where we're trying to estimate what might be the additional demand in their community based on how many people they think are coming in to the community for an extended period during the summer months for cottages, that kind of thing. So again, we've got 2 years worth of information here. This is available here at the county level. It can be adjusted for municipal level as well. And then the last piece of information, which again is this, you're not going to get this anywhere else in Canada, is the full agricultural census database for the region. Again, we've got the province, you've got the county, and you've got the various townships within it. For the last basically 4 census periods, and we'll be adding, 2026 here and so on and so forth. But this is every single variable that the census measures for that community. Again, this is all available in different pieces on CanSA, on Stat Canada's website, but extremely difficult to pull out and harmonize across years, etc., and pull into this. And so this, from my perspective, this is a significant undertaking. It's really benefited us as a ministry in being able to respond to questions that the census would be, the main source to answer, because we have it all in one place. You're not having to search for it, etc. But it is a fair bit of work and takes quite a bit of time to get it set up. Once it's there, it's extremely valuable, and we find this has been a major driver of people, communities, organizations to our website, etc. So again, I'll conclude and let Jen go on and talk about the infographics that she's been working on as of late, which are trying to put a sort of a better picture to this and tell a better story. But our key function here is providing a key, consistent, updated, and timely resource that can be the source for all users of the data. And I think we've accomplished that, and we want to try to keep building on that. So hopefully, meetings like this will help us. So I'm gonna pause and.
Yeah, thanks, Steve. Yeah, so Steve went through our in detail some of the stats and Excels that we offer, just to sort of help make it easier for stakeholders to sort of understand, because it's a lot of data. I was tasked with making some infographics to try to make it a bit more accessible, and I will just share my screen. All right. So on the right, I have I've referenced the files that contribute to the
screen
infographic.
Isn't shared.
Oh, sorry about that. Yeah, so on the right, I've highlighted the different Excels that go into the infographic, and then with an example for the Northumberland Excel on the left. And so essentially, this is sort of just a summarization of some of the key highlights for each county. There's one of these infographics for each county, as well as one for each region, major region and special region within Ontario, available in both French and English on our website. I can show you that in a moment. So essentially, there's a quick summary at the top. So I'm looking at farm cash receipts, agri-food GDP, population, and agri-food employment. And then as you go down, we have quick, broad facts like of agriculture at a glance. So number of farms, number of acres per farm, looking at acres of pasture land, land and crops. And the acres potential unused farmland is based on estimations from MPAC, which does land assessments. So generally, what this is looking at, just comparing the number of the difference between their estimated number of acres and the ones that we get from the census, and seeing how that changes over the years. As you can see, a lot of this throughout this, there are little arrows comparing whether or not a particular stat has gone up or down. All of these will be relative to 2016. So we'll be comparing 2021 to 2016. And then we get into the agri-food sector contributions. So of course, you start again with the farm cash receipts, and then we list the top 3 commodities by farm cash receipt. And Steve went into looking at day and night employment. That's sort of what the last 2 points within the agri-food sector contribution section are into. The first point talking about 1195 farm operators actively farming this many acres through this many businesses employing 4490 workers. That's referring to the day, supporting the night employment across Ontario. And then we wanted to get into what we really wanted to get into, sort of like what different surpluses and what each county like really does in abundance. So we looked at like what percent, So we wanted to have a section highlighting what they're able to cultivate beyond local need based on the estimations that Steve described in our food consumption category within the county profile. We also wanted to look at the number of farms selling directly to consumer. So for example, in Northumberland, some of the things that they produce beyond are their estimated local need based on farm acreage is like wheat flour, apples, and cabbages. Yeah. And then we wanted to see sort of like looking to the future. So basically kind of looking at sustainability, succession plans, and just generally looking at their top commodities. This particular one mostly just looks at the different fluctuations of like cows, because dairy products were considered a top commodity, just kind of looking at how dairy cows and other things related to them changed. Some other counties, what we did was we looked at their top commodities compared to other counties within the region when it seemed appropriate. And then at the bottom, we have all of these direct links that go directly to the direct county profiles involved in making the Excel. So if I can just, yeah. So this is the web page, as Steve mentioned. He's already gone into this quite a bit, so I won't take too much time on it. At the moment you click on a link, it'll direct you to the root page with all the files. And if you scroll all the way down under the supporting files, you will find the infographics. We are currently working to restructure the web page to make them easier to find. Hopefully that should be changed within the next month or two. Yeah. So this has been a big part of how we've tried to make the wealth of data that we have more accessible. Some of these infographics have already been requested by counties and have come up in meetings with some of my colleagues. So we're very excited to see that they're being used. Yeah, and that's everything. If I could just stop sharing.
That's awesome. Thanks, Jennifer, and thanks, Steve, for that piece and showing us what's all there. And Chloe, did you? Oh, sorry, I just saw you there. So
I wasn't sure if
for,
you wanted me to thank them, so I wanted to jump
sorry
back on
for
it in case, but you
jumping
got
in
it.
on you. But yeah, so hopefully you folks have a better understanding of what stats are available. And as you can see, there are various sources of those stats for you to access. And so as I said in the chat there, there's a lot of links that we shared with you. But if you go down to the bottom of the chat, there's 3 little dots, just a reminder, you can click on that and you can save chat and then find it in your downloads. So you'll have those, and then we'll do our best also to follow up with an email with all the links in there to some of these things that have been shared with you. So I'll open it up for some questions. If you have some questions, I see there's been some really great questions in the chat, so thank you for that. And is there anything that someone would like to ask?
I know David
Yep.
did ask one about business counts. He was, and I thought Steve had said December 2020, but he'd be a much better person to answer it. Like, what is the timing of the business counts? What the data is coming from?
Yeah, so the business counts come from the business registry, which is maintained by CRA. They're done twice a year, and so we get an extract from that for December of each year. So in this case, it'll be December 2023. They are put out, what's today? They might even put out today publicly. And then at that point, Stats Canada sends us the raw data, and then take us a little bit of time to update it. But that tells you what Jen's next little bit.
Perfect. Thanks, Steve. Was there anything else that folks would like to share also? So this forum is is for sharing as well. And you'll see I try to encourage folks, if you have used Connect On, or if you've used OMAPRA Stats, if you'd like to share that in the chat, where you've used them, that might be helpful for some who haven't used them yet. But also, when I'm looking for examples online, I see that a lot of municipalities have used them in their profiles. And so if you care to, feel free to share that with the group as well. And
So
before
Nick, it's Steve. I noticed that Robin Smart from MAPRA had a question about production numbers. So I'm not sure if it was directed to Connect Ontario, but I'll answer it from a MAPRA perspective. So as I mentioned previously, the production numbers that MAPRA produces for grains and oilseeds, for horticulture, for livestock, at a county level, we're the only jurisdiction in Canada that does that. And all of those are a calculation, not a measured statistic. Clear. They're a very good calculation, but they are not a measured statistic. And a lot of our data, whether it's the economic impact stuff that Jen showed, that kind of stuff, drives off of that kind of calculation. The stuff I presented at Sophia up in Sudbury a week or so ago all drives from that kind of information. When you get into things like food manufacturing, etc., there is no measurement anywhere in this country in a statistical way of production at a local level. That just doesn't exist. You can do calculations. I can give you a million different ways you could do the calculation. We don't do that at a food manufacturing level, etc. The best you could really do is based on employment, and that isn't particularly accurate in my opinion, and that's one of the reasons we have not done that as a ministry. So some of the stuff, for example, an analyst, if you've used analyst as, those are calculations. They're not a measured stat. So in terms of how you evaluate them, use them, you have to think of it in those terms. And so that's why it's complicated. But again, if you're in Saskatchewan, everything's at a provincial level. You don't have this stuff. So if you think of it in those terms, I think that's a real benefit.
Awesome. Hey, thanks, Steve. That's a really good explanation there. And I think in EcDev as well, what we look a lot at is are those trends, right? As to what's happening within those sectors, and seeing those numbers change, but which way are they changing, right? And so, yeah, so that's a good. We need to understand those numbers, and we need to be able to explain them to other people we're showing. So that's thank you for that. And I'm just going to share quickly here. So Steve mentioned Analyst. So Lightcast Analyst, it is available to you for a month at a time from OMAPRA. And so you can go to our website to find that by Googling OMAPRA Analyst, and you'll find it there, how to access it. But we do have a training webinar coming up on March the 27th from 10 to 11. And it's really going to be an introduction to Analyst. And just to give you a sense, if you're not aware of it, it'll give you a sense of what you might be able to get there, as well as a source of stats. So if there aren't any more questions, maybe I'll turn it back to Austin.
Yes, thank you, Nick. Well, I guess that's our cue to wrap up here. I'm thrilled with our presenters today. The information provided and the tools that we saw are fantastic, and I'm really happy that we had a chance to give them a platform to show how good their work is. I want to thank you all for being on the call today. If you would please go into the link for the SurveyMonkey survey It is very important to us to get your feedback so that we can improve on the COP and make sure that it fits your needs better each and every time. So you should be able to find that in the chat. And I will be including the SurveyMonkey link in my COP follow-up newsletter as well. But that's it for now. I want to thank you again for joining us, and I suppose we can wrap up a couple minutes early. Thanks so much, everyone.